I never thought I'd be the kind of guy posting something like this here, but life has a weird way of humbling you. A few months ago, I made what I thought was a simple decision. I was finally going to learn English properly. Not just the hello, how are you tourist level stuff, but real English, like the kind you can use at work with confidence. I'm not some teenager in school. I'm in my 30s, married, with a decent job. My wife and I had this unspoken agreement. She'd support me while I took night classes, and I'd keep pulling my weight financially. I was excited, even nervous, like starting a new chapter. I thought this was something that would bring us closer. She always said she wanted us to grow together, right? The first classes were tough, but fun. I remember stumbling through "my name is" like a kid, but I loved it. Every new word felt like a little victory. And honestly, I was proud of myself. I'd come home, show her what I'd learned, and she'd smile, at least in the beginning. But here's where things started to get strange. She didn't seem as enthusiastic as I expected. Sometimes, she'd barely listen when I practiced out loud. Other times, she'd roll her eyes like I was wasting my time. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe she was tired. Maybe I was being sensitive. But deep down, I felt it. Something wasn't right. One night, after class, I came home buzzing with energy. We'd practiced simple dialogues like, "Where are you from?" "I'm from Spain." "Do you like coffee?" "Yes, I love coffee." I thought it was funny, so I asked my wife these questions in English. I expected her to laugh, maybe tease me a bit. Instead, she snapped, "Stop. You sound stupid." That cut deep. I mean stupid. I was trying to better myself, not clown around. I laughed it off in the moment, but when I went to bed, I just stared at the ceiling. I couldn't shake the thought. Why wasn't she happy for me? Then came another red flag. She started working late. A lot. Too much. At first, I didn't question it. I trusted her. But I couldn't help noticing the way her phone seemed glued to her hand, the sudden new passwords, the way she'd turn the screen away when I walked by. And here's the weirdest part. She suddenly had this interest in English too, but not with me. She'd say she was just listening to music or watching videos. But when I peeked one night, she was in a chat room with some guy, typing in English sentences I knew she hadn't learned from me. That was the first night I felt something shift inside me. Shock, suspicion, and a little voice whispering, "What if she's learning English with someone else?" The next week, everything felt off. I'd go to class, come home ready to share what I learned, and she'd be busy. Busy cooking, busy on her laptop, busy scrolling on her phone. Except the food wasn't really cooked. The laptop screen closed the second I walked in, and the scrolling stopped when I got too close. One night, I came home earlier than usual. Our teacher had canceled class, so I thought, great, surprise my wife. Maybe we'll have dinner together. I opened the door quietly. The lights were dim, and there she was on the couch, headphones in, smiling and laughing. At first, I thought she was watching some silly video. But then I heard her speaking, in English. Not broken English like mine, not shy. Full sentences. Confident. Like she'd been practicing every day. And then I caught it. She said someone's name. A man's name. I didn't storm in. I froze in the hallway, heart pounding, palms sweating. My first thought wasn't even jealousy, it was betrayal. Like, how is it that she's learning faster with some stranger than supporting me, her own husband? I must have made a noise because she jumped and ripped off her headphones. Her face went pale when she saw me standing there. She stammered something about just practicing, but I already knew. That night, lying in bed next to her, I felt a knot in my stomach. My English journey, which was supposed to bring us closer, was slowly tearing us apart. The next morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I waited until she poured her coffee and sat at the table. My hands were shaking, but I just came out with it. "Who are you talking to in English?" She froze. Her spoon clinked against the mug. For a second, she looked like she might laugh it off, but then her whole expression changed, defensive, sharp. "It's nothing. Just a friend helping me practice." A friend. That word hit me like a slap. Why couldn't I be that friend? I'd begged her to practice with me. She always brushed me off. And now suddenly she had energy for some random guy online? I told her exactly that. My voice cracked halfway, anger mixing with hurt. She rolled her eyes and said, "Don't be dramatic. You're overreacting. He's just better at explaining things than you are." That was the knife twist. Better than me. Not just at English, at connecting with her. We sat there in silence, me staring at my untouched toast, her scrolling on her phone like I wasn't even there. For the first time in our marriage, I felt like an outsider in my own home. And the worst part? I still went to class that night. I sat there, repeating simple phrases, but the words felt heavy in my mouth. All I could think about was her laughing in English with him while I was breaking my back to learn the basics. I couldn't stop myself. Curiosity, suspicion, whatever you want to call it, ate at me like acid. The more she brushed me off, the more I needed to know who this friend was. So, one night when she was showering, I did something I'd never done before. I picked up her phone. My heart was hammering so hard I swear I could hear it echo in my skull. I knew her passcode. She'd never bothered to change it until recently. But that night, by pure luck, she hadn't locked it. The first thing I saw was the chat app still open. And there it was, walls of English messages. Not just grammar practice, not just, how are you? And, what's the weather like? This was personal, deep, flirty. They joked about me, about how serious I was. He even called her babe. My stomach dropped. I felt hot, then cold, then numb. I couldn't even read more than a few lines before I slammed the phone shut and put it back exactly where it had been. When she came out of the shower, hair wet, towel around her shoulders, she smiled faintly at me. And all I could think was, you're smiling at me, but laughing at me with him. That night, I barely slept. I lay there rehearsing words in English and in my own language, wondering which one would hurt less when I finally said them out loud. The next day at work, I couldn't focus on anything. Emails blurred in front of me, and when my boss asked me a simple question, I just stared like an idiot. All I could see in my mind was that chat log, the word babe, her laughing at his jokes. My wife, my partner, sliding away from me word by word. I told myself I needed proof, something undeniable. So, that evening, I logged into our shared laptop. She thought she was clever using her phone, but guess what? She'd synced her chat app to the desktop months ago and forgot about it. The messages were all there. Every late night study session, every inside joke, every emoji. My hands shook so badly I had to grip the table to stop them. She wasn't just practicing English. She was building a whole relationship in it. I wanted to scream, smash the laptop, confront her right there. But instead, I just sat frozen. Because here's the ugly truth. Part of me didn't want to know more. I was terrified of confirming what I already knew. So I closed the laptop, poured myself a drink, and sat in silence until she came home. When she kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong, I almost broke down. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to accuse her without being ready. I'd gather myself first. But inside, something in me had already cracked. I held it in for 2 more days. 2 days of fake smiles, small talk, and lying next to her while my chest burned like it was on fire. But on the 3rd night, I snapped. She was sitting on the couch, headphones in again, giggling. Same damn scene as before. I didn't sneak around this time. I walked straight up, yanked the headphones off her head, and said, "Does he make you happier than I do?" Her eyes went wide. For a second, pure shock. Then anger. "What the hell? Don't touch my stuff," she shouted. I told her I'd read the messages. I said I knew everything. My voice was shaking so badly I barely recognized it, but the words came spilling out. "You called him babe. You laugh at me with him. You learn English with him when you won't even practice with me." She went pale, then tried to twist it back on me. "You shouldn't be spying on me. That's the real problem here." That broke me. She didn't even deny it. Didn't even try to say he was just a teacher. She made me the villain for finding out. I shouted. She shouted. The neighbors probably heard every word. Finally, she grabbed her phone and locked herself in the bedroom. I sat on the floor of the living room, fists clenched, shaking so hard I could barely breathe. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about English anymore. It was about respect, loyalty, and the fact that she'd already chosen someone else that I held it in for 2 more days. 2 days of fake smiles, small talk, and lying next to her while my chest burned like it was on fire. But on the 3rd night, I snapped. She was sitting on the couch, headphones in again, giggling. Same damn scene as before. I didn't sneak around this time. I walked straight up, yanked the headphones off her head, and said, "Does he make you happier than I do?" Her eyes went wide. For a second, pure shock. Then anger. What the hell? Don't touch my stuff, she shouted. I told her I'd read the messages. I said I knew everything. My voice was shaking so badly I barely recognized it, but the words came spilling out. You called him babe. You laugh at me with him. You learn English with him when you won't even practice with me. She went pale, then tried to twist it back on me. You shouldn't be spying on me. That's the real problem here. That broke me. She didn't even deny it. Didn't even try to say he was just a teacher. She made me the villain for finding out. I shouted. She shouted. The neighbors probably heard every word. Finally, she grabbed her phone and locked herself in the bedroom. I sat on the floor of the living room, fists clenched, shaking so hard I could barely breathe. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about English anymore. It was about respect, loyalty, and the fact that she'd already chosen someone else. I held it in for 2 more days. 2 days of fake smiles, small talk, and lying next to her while my chest burned like it was on fire. But on the 3rd night, I snapped. She was sitting on the couch, headphones in again, giggling. Same damn scene as before. I didn't sneak around this time. I walked straight up, yanked the headphones off her head, and said, "Does he make you happier than I do?" Her eyes went wide. For a second, pure shock. Then anger. What the hell? Don't touch my stuff, she shouted. I told her I'd read the messages. I said I knew everything. My voice was shaking so badly I barely recognized it, but the words came spilling out. You called him babe. You laugh at me with him. You learn English with him when you won't even practice with me. She went pale, then tried to twist it back on me. You shouldn't be spying on me. That's the real problem here. That broke me. She didn't even deny it. Didn't even try to say he was just a teacher. She made me the villain for finding out. I shouted. She shouted. The neighbors probably heard every word. Finally, she grabbed her phone and locked herself in the bedroom. I sat on the floor of the living room, fists clenched, shaking so hard I could barely breathe. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about English anymore. It was about respect, loyalty, and the fact that she'd already chosen someone else. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages, her smiling at the screen, him calling her babe. My wife's voice echoing in my head. You shouldn't be spying on me. Like I was the one who betrayed her. In the morning, the apartment was silent. She stayed in the bedroom, and I sat at the kitchen table staring at a cold cup of coffee. My mind felt split in two. One part of me wanted to pack a bag and leave. The other part wanted to pretend it hadn't happened, to believe her when she said it was just practice. But the silence was the worst. We moved around the apartment like strangers. No good morning. No have a nice day. Just doors opening and closing, footsteps, the sound of water running. At work, I broke down in the bathroom. Full-grown man, 30-something, crying quietly into my hands like a kid. And the worst part? I felt humiliated. Like a failure as a husband, as a man. I was supposed to be learning a new language to build us up, but instead it felt like the very thing that broke us apart. That night, she came out of the bedroom, sat across from me, and finally spoke. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. We need to talk. And my heart dropped, because I knew this wasn't going to be a talk about saving us. It was going to be a talk about what we had already lost. She sat down across from me, legs crossed, phone in hand like a shield. I braced myself for whatever excuse, apology, or denial she might throw at me. I've been learning English with him because he understands me better, she said, her tone casual, almost rehearsed. You're too slow, too rigid. I wanted someone who could keep up. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. Not just the words, but the way she said them. Like I wasn't enough. Like everything I'd done to grow, to be better for us, didn't matter. I tried to speak, but my voice was gone. You mean? I'm not good enough. I croaked. She shrugged. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's easier. I enjoy talking to him. And we click. Click. That word. I wanted to throw something, scream, run, but instead I sat there, stunned. Betrayal isn't just the act. It's the way someone can make you feel invisible while they smile at someone else. And that's when it hit me fully. This wasn't about English anymore. This was about her leaving me emotionally, slowly, step by step, while I was busy trying to be the man I thought she wanted. After that talk, I spent a few days in a daze. Every memory of our marriage replayed in my head, every word, every small moment that now seemed like a setup for this betrayal. I knew I couldn't just sit there anymore, letting her slip further away. Something had to change. I made a decision, not about revenge, not about confronting her again, but about myself. I was going to focus on me, my goals, my growth. English, ironically, became part of that plan. I threw myself into my studies, repeating words aloud, practicing every night, but this time for me, not for her. I also set boundaries. No more late-night chats without me knowing, no more hiding behind screens. I started journaling, writing down everything I felt, the anger, the hurt, the betrayal. It helped me see the situation more clearly, not through the haze of emotions, but through logic and self-respect. For the first time in weeks, I felt a little spark of control. I realized that I couldn't make her care about me, but I could decide how I responded. I could decide to rebuild myself, even if it meant doing it alone. Just when I thought I was regaining some sense of control, life threw me another curveball. A week later, I got a message from an unknown number. It was him, the guy she'd been chatting with. At first, I wanted to delete it, block him, pretend he didn't exist. But curiosity got the better of me. He said something simple, almost casual. "Hey, I think you should know she's not happy with me. She's lying to both of us." My stomach dropped. I reread the message 3 times. Could it be true? Was she manipulating both of us? My head spun. Suddenly, everything I thought I knew about her betrayal felt like it might have another layer. I confronted her about it that night. She froze, blinked, and then her mask slipped. She admitted, partially, that she had been confused, looking for validation outside our marriage, but that it had never gone beyond chatting. Still, she hadn't come clean to me first. Shock, relief, anger. They all crashed over me at once. Betrayal didn't suddenly feel simpler. It felt messy, eh? But in a strange way, this new revelation gave me a tiny spark of hope. Maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe there was still a way to salvage me, even if our marriage had cracks too deep to fix overnight. After the bombshell from the guy's message, I spent days walking around the city, headphones in, repeating English phrases under my breath. I am learning. I can speak. I will grow. It sounds silly, but saying it aloud felt like reclaiming a tiny piece of myself. I realized something crucial. Betrayal doesn't just hurt because of the other person's actions. It hurts because it forces you to look in the mirror and question your worth. I'd been so focused on her approval, her happiness, her attention, that I'd lost sight of me. I started setting small goals. Finish a chapter of my English book every night. Listen to a podcast. Even try speaking to strangers online in English. Each step wasn't about her. It was about proving to myself that I could still grow, still succeed, still feel proud without needing validation from someone who had hurt me. Emotionally, it was exhausting. Anger flared up randomly. Sadness came in waves. But slowly, I began to notice something I hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. Not the kind that erases pain, but the kind that lets you stand up and say, I can move forward, even if things are broken. After weeks of reflection, journaling, and late-night English practice, I realized something important. I couldn't control her choices. I couldn't force her to be faithful, to value me, or to prioritize our marriage. The only thing I could control was myself. It wasn't an easy decision, but I knew I had to put myself first. I started planning small changes, spending more time on my hobbies, reconnecting with friends I had neglected, and taking extra English classes online. Each time I mastered a new word or sentence, it felt like reclaiming a piece of my dignity. I told her clearly, I'm not going to stay in a relationship where I feel invisible and betrayed. She tried to apologize, tried to explain, but my mind was made up. I had to step back to protect my own emotional health. It hurt like hell. Nights were quiet and lonely, and the apartment felt emptier than ever. But at the same time, I felt lighter, freer. For the first time in months, I wasn't walking on eggshells. I wasn't constantly wondering if I'd be betrayed again. I was just me. Months went by. I won't lie, some days were still hard. I'd catch myself thinking about her or replaying the messages in my head. But little by little, things changed. I started seeing progress in English. Words I once struggled with flowed naturally. I could watch videos, follow along in conversations, even chat confidently with strangers online. Each victory felt symbolic. Proof that I could grow, even when life tried to knock me down. I also learned to enjoy my own company. I cooked meals just for myself, took long walks without feeling lonely, and even laughed at my own mistakes. Life wasn't perfect, but I was learning to be happy on my own terms. And the strangest thing? That betrayal, that heartbreak,